Today in the studio, just like every day, I got a real treat for you. This dude's interesting as hell. Inventor, thought leader, and entrepreneur. Basically is an inventor, thought leader, and entrepreneur on not legally on steroids, but who knows, maybe, because he's buff as shit. But ultimately, dude, it's interesting because you grew up in the woods like a freaking wild child.
I did. It was definitely
Did the wolves raise you?
No, the bears.
Did you ever see bears?
Yeah. Been tracked by a bear too.
I mean, this dude like is massively successful. He co-founded Kabuki Strength. He's freaking, a consultant to a lot of big people. He's invented multiple game-changing products, improving human biomechanics under load, as well as systematized approaches to assessing and correcting human movement dysfunctions. Like, dude, that's major shit. He's got an MBA in engineering. You spent your whole childhood basically living alone in the woods and ended up a smart some bitch fixing mechanical or biomechanical problems. Like, how the hell does that happen?
Yeah. I also did some big lifting too. The only person in the world that's deadlifted and squatted 1,000 pounds and done it for reps.
Dude, you guys got to look this up on Instagram, mad_scientist_Duffin. Chris Duffin, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Looking forward to some good conversation, Brad.
And as we all know, Kabuki Strength, you can look that shit up. Kabuki, Kabuki Strengths, all over the place. All the top athletes, LeBron James, the Lakers, pretty much anybody who's anybody uses your high-end, kick-ass, like scientifically based equipment.
Yeah, I like 90% of all professional sports teams in North America. So take Major League Baseball, 29 of 30 teams, just so you know, I'm not exaggerating. That's who we work with. And any major college you can think of, 600 plus more, all the top ones, they use our products or our education. Not
to mention The Rock, Thor, frickin', what's his name? Chris Hemsworth. Guinness World Record to squat and deadlift 1,000 pounds. Dude, you've lived, man. What a resume. And it all started growing up in the woods. Now tell me about that. Like, how'd you grow up in the woods?
Yeah. So my mom she had problems with authority and really decided she didn't want to be part of society. She was going to school to be a chemical engineer and just decided, hey, this is, in the 70s. I'm going to live off grid. I want to figure out how to make a life not being part of the world. And so we're in Northern California, and at a young age, we're up in the mountains and living in tents, living in tree forts. I mean, my book opens with, me at 6 years old, we're living, off this little stream. We've got tree limbs or beams strapped into the trees because there's rattlesnakes all over. And I'm being taught how to capture and handle live rattlesnakes. At 6 years old, you got it sitting there, wrap it around your arm as you're holding it just beside, its jaws. And that's a weird life. And, the thing people don't realize is when you're living, out there away from society, a lot of the other people that maybe in that arena are doing it there's a reason. So there's, I grew up around drug running, drug abuse, murders. Is
anybody living up in the mountains is running from something?
90%. Yeah. And we're talking Northern California. You ever see the
Humboldt?
Yes, exactly. So
it's called like Death Hills or something.
Murder Mountain.
Yeah,
we
Mountain.
were 50 miles from there, just a little 50 miles north and just a little bit deeper. And yeah, so there was human trafficking. There was a serial killer. I mean, I saved my mom from the serial killer at one point.
You did?
Yeah, I did, man.
How? And by the way, folks, he's got a book called The Eagle and the Dragon available on Amazon. It talks about all of this and then more. Eagle and the Dragon, go get it. But how did that happen?
Well, it's this one's a little hard for me to talk about sometimes, but I've got 3 younger sisters, a younger brother, and then we were living up in the mountains with my mom.
When you say mountains, like no home, no running water, I mean, other than streams, like living off the land.
Yeah. So over the course of sometimes it was tents, sometimes it was a condemned home. During the school year, we might move closer, be in a trailer, be in a home that might have, electricity or running water or maybe not. So that was basically all the way up through high school. We were in some sort of environment like that. So in Northern California, we were living up in the mountains. Just like I said, if you watch that documentary, Murder Mountain, that's pretty much where we were at. And the story about the serial killer, this is a little wild, but there was this police officer, and we're way remote. It takes, to travel like 30 miles up there takes like an hour and a half to get to like these super small communities. And the closest town to us was like 100 people. And then we were up in the mountains way past that. And, but we were down in the town of 100 people. We were living, in this, little mill city, some old, housing. And there was this police officer that women were known for disappearing around him. And so he shows up, my mom and me and my siblings are in the home, and he shines his flashlight in the window and sees a table full of weed. Because guess what? Guess what my parents did for a living, living up out in Humboldt County?
Grew weed.
They grew weed. And that's how they were figuring out how to make ends meet, right? And so he goes to arrest my mom, and my mom's like, Chris, you gotta run and find your sister's dad and get him here and get some people here to view this, because this guy's really sketchy. And so I took off running. I find my dad at a party a while away, and they come and they end up watching him take my mom. And so a year later, we're up in the mountains again. We're living in tents, and by that time, he's sheriff, and he comes up and he arrests my mom. Well, my mom disappears to go destroy some crops, and I'm sitting there with my siblings. I'm watching all the kids while the police are there. It's just me and my younger sisters and brother. And they take us all into custody, throw my mom in jail, and my stepfather disappears into the mountains. And so we end up in foster care, and my mom's in jail. And she has this vision or a dream or something while she's in jail. She's like, something just is not right. Doesn't add up. And so she's like, this guy, he's preying on these people in these remote areas, and there's a human trafficking ring. And she goes to the DA, and he believes the story. They start investigating, and they end up, yeah, that's it. They had taken us because they were selling my 3 sisters into a pedophile ring. And him and the people in the foster care in this remote county were all in on this. And so that's where we were. That's what was happening to us as kids. And so we end up, it made national news. The guy that had my sisters ended up getting busted trying to get on a plane leaving the nation. The sheriff and a bunch of his deputies all went to prison. And then, a lot of stuff happens over the next number of years or so, but fast forward 20 years, and my mom's living out in far East Oregon, out in the desert. At the time I was raising my siblings, so I'd taken custody of my 3 younger sisters. I was going to school, working on my engineering degrees and then my MBA, but I was raising my sisters because environment at home wasn't healthy. So when I got to college, I ended up just taking a job and working and took custody of them. But my mom was out in Eastern Oregon, and all of a sudden the guy shows up, the sheriff, the ex-sheriff. He got out of prison 20 years later, right? And he starts following my mom around, like doing finger guns at her. And then she ends up escaping him and his buddies at gunpoint, disappears to another area in Eastern Oregon. 6 months later, the police show up at his property to investigate for some poaching, and they find 4 women that he killed and buried on his property because he was a serial killer. And that's what was happening down in California too, why people were disappearing around him. Anyway, so back in 1985, I saved her for the first time from him. The second time she escaped at gunpoint. Pretty wild stuff that I had exposure to over the course of my life.
Yeah, dude, that's heavy duty shit. And you were obviously kind of, let's use the word dirt poor.
Yeah. So we're talking, a family of 6 living on probably $5,000 or less a year. People think, oh, weed growing's great. Or, you're going to make a ton of money, but at some point you've got to be successful. And they were always scraping and trying to make ends meet. And then there'd be the big crop. And then next thing you know, like I said, they're in jail, and just never really happened. So we were, cutting wood, delivering it. And so I was exposed. I mean, I was physically active a lot growing up. So we were, I knew we'd go foraging for mushrooms. We'd be poaching deer down there. They're little tiny ones. So you'd have to poach them all the time because they're the little whitetails down in California. Muleys up in Oregon last a bit longer. In Oregon, when my parents got us back, they decided to get out of the drug trade. Like, don't want to risk the chance of losing the kids again. But they started doing like mining and things like that. And pretty quickly we fell back into living out in the mountains again. And so that's, I would, during the day, I'd go catch grasshoppers and string them on my hook. And I go down to the stream and walk, through all the different, my holes during the day and catch some trout. And at night, parents would come home, maybe find a puffball on the way. We'd slice that up, cook it up, fry up.
What's a puffball?
It's a giant mushroom and grows up looks like the size of a soccer ball. It looks like a puffball, thus the name.
And like when you found one of those, was it a treat?
Yeah, it was good.
Did you ever like drive down the road and be like, Mom, stop, there's a puffball?
Well, yes, that's exactly how you'd find them.
Oh, that's freaking cool. It's almost
shaggy manes. They grow along the gravel alongside the road. So we'd always have a cooler with us and we'd driving along and see a patch of them, jump out and kill them kill them, pick them, throw them in the cooler.
What about, see, this sounds like, people are like, oh man, I can't imagine living like that. I think it'd be fun kind of living like that.
That's the thing. People look at it and they go, man, that must have been so rough. And I'm like, it was just different. Like,
yeah, like if that's all that's life.
Think about it. Like that's the way everybody grew up for the longest time, for hundreds of years, thousands of years, right? And so it's just different experience than what most of us have exposure to. And so, yeah, we didn't have access to TV or radio a lot of times. So the library was our friend. Like we would get stacks of books. Once a month we'd go into town
that could have turned out like one of the reasons you're freaking successful now.
It definitely very well could be because that's all we did. I was reading by flashlight, candlelight, whatever, every night.
What kind of books?
I read a lot of mixture of both fiction and nonfiction. So time I was into a lot of, I read some really weird, deep stuff for so like Kurt Vonnegut, I was reading like 12 years old. I was reading, I read a lot of science fiction, like Isaac Asimov, Ray Bradbury, things of that nature. And maybe that's where I got this, like, I'm going to just like create my own little world. Right. And that's what I've done with my life today.
And all your equipment and shit's all futuristic and shit.
True.
Yeah. So eventually you went to school, got your MBA, taking care of your daughters. You're living in society now.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you like society better than the woods?
It's interesting. I definitely have the struggle, same as my mom, with like, I don't handle authority and rules very well. And I'm going to do and live like in my own fashion.
Did you wear masks?
Well, I did.
Well, there goes that out the window.
Now, well, it's a matter of,
dude, listen, when it comes to masks, dude, those piss me off the worst. Why? Because they don't work. They're saying you wear that, bitch. And every time I'd fucking have to wear one because, I want to fly. I'm not going to be the dick that doesn't want to put on a fucking mask. But, dude, it pissed me off. I don't like authority either. I got kicked out of my house at 16 years old because I didn't want to mow the fucking lawn.
Well, for me, I've got a public facing business. And part of that is we also have a gym. And so a matter of shutting that down is going to hurt my employees. It's going to hurt our members that have to do that. And that's where we're at.
Where's your gym?
It's in basically right off of our manufacturing facility. So I've got a bunch of buildings. We got manufacturing. We've got our video production, all of our stuff for our content. And then we've got our gym right there in Portland, Oregon, Southeast.
So KabukiStrength.com.
I call it Outer Portlandia because we're on the outskirts of Portland.
That's Kabuki Strength, right?
That is.
So KabukiStrength.com is basically a full online coaching system with member login and training designed to fit the individual's needs.
Yep. So we have a staff of coaches.
It's almost like customized.
Yes.
life. I mean, with biomechanics and shit, like people
so
don't realize they could be walking in the wrong shoes and their back hurts and they don't know why.
Exactly. And so that's what we do is virtually it's a little harder. So we've got systems for, taking video, reviewing that and developing, the movement preparation, the things that people need to do to get the balance back, to build the resilience in the right areas, and then build that into their strength training programs as well. And so we've got a mix of clinical and coaches, and we produce content. So if anybody, we drop it for free on social media every day. So the Kabuki Strength YouTube, and there's a Kabuki_virtual coaching Instagram, and our staff of coaches are dropping free content nearly every day.
It teaches what?
On how to move better, how to load better, how to basically and get out of pain and live a better quality of life.
And you've invented all this shit.
I've sought the education on how to do so. So I started, my background, MBA, engineering degrees. So I was working in manufacturing, running companies, doing turnaround stuff and
aerospace, like crazy companies, aerospace, automotive, high tech, heavy equipment, like all kinds.
And so I was doing that, but at the same time I owned a gym because I was one of the best lifters in the world, and I wanted to be the absolute best. So I was doing continual education on the clinical side. And so I was starting to meet some of the movers and shakers, and I ended up developing relationships with basically the best spine biomechanist in the world, some of the best developmental kinesiologists and chiropractors and physical, arguably the best physical therapy and the best orthopedic surgeon. These are the people that are on my advisory board now for our company. And so I started developing those relationships and really building out and seeing the commonalities in what works and what in the common threads between those, and really forming this assessment approach to how we look at the human body and how it moves, and how, particularly in the real world, not just like this theoretical clinical space or somebody that's never loaded, but people that actually go and use their bodies and demand on it. And, how do I put it in place to be able to help me squat 1,000 pounds or deadlift 1,000 pounds, like real freaking loaded heavy shit, like make this happen. Let's do things. And so I started putting this stuff to place and developing this philosophy. And now we've got a team of coaches that really has taken and flushed out all those principles to a whole nother level. And so we do seminars, we do online education, certifications, and then we coach people individually as well. And so it's really cool. So we have a gym. We're not in the gym business. So our gym, we don't advertise. We don't do it. We actually have a really low member base because it's just a facility for our employees to train and for us to be there and actually use our principles, use our equipment, validate, we're a company that makes exercise equipment that uses it and beats the crap out of it. And you'd be surprised at how many people in this industry go look at them and they don't model fitness. They don't live a good lifestyle. They don't we call our gym the lab. It's the Kabuki Strength Lab because that's where we test our methods. It's where we test our equipment. So
why Kabuki? Was there a mushroom on the side that saved your life one day? So and it was called the Kabuki mushroom.
Oh God, it's a long, pointless story, but I'll tell it anyway. So in college, I was a little odd. So I was working full time, right? And I didn't need to go to school because I didn't need to. I didn't buy books. I didn't go to class. And everybody the first few years thought I was a joke. They're like, who's this guy? Why hasn't he dropped out yet? And then finally they figured out, oh, he's got the highest grades in the school. I ended up graduating with the highest engineering GPA. But the first few years I was kind of a joke because I was working and partying, honestly. I was like, it was the first time like in my life, I was like, oh my God, I'm not getting to kind of, I grew up very socially isolated.
Is that from all the books you think that you were smart? Because your mom's smart too. What was she going to be?
Yeah, my dad was a member of Mensa too. And there was a lot of expectations around that. And just, like I said, the being well-read, I don't know. Just lucky. Yeah. And it's not like I'm super smart. I'm just really good at tests. So I didn't have to so it's kind of a joke. Anyway, before they realized it, they voted me to be the president of the engineering society as a joke. And I had this nickname at school called Kabuki because there was this trip to LA this school trip, and I went on it, and the van broke down that we were all in. We were doing this. It was for the engineering. We're going to do a big presentation down there at this event. And I was the only one that came prepared for it. I had this bottle filled with a green flavored liquid. Okay. It was weed infused vodka. And so we're stuck at this McDonald's for like 10 hours waiting on our van to get fixed. And I proceeded to get wasted. All right. And I pretty much stayed that way the rest of the time. And the green liquid turned my tongue green. And I used to be a really good wrestler in high school. And so there used to be this WWE wrestler named the Great Kabuki, and he would drink green stuff and spit it out, and his tongue would be green. So I got this name Kabuki, and then I got the engineering. Everybody like sent this email out and said, "Hey, vote for Kabuki to be the engineering president," as a joke. And next thing you know, I'm the engineering president, and I was freaking the goof off party guy that just didn't go to school. But that name followed me forever. And then I used it online as your avatar on like forums and stuff for ages. And then when it went to start the business, we originally started as Elite Strength Equipment. Well, quickly found out the word elite is not really elite. Like we couldn't even get a pizza delivered because it'd go to Elite Gymnastics down the street. And, so it's like, what's a unique name? Like, well, let's use Kabuki. Type it in. I'm like, somebody owns Kabuki Strength. That's weird. And so we send an email to see if we can buy the site. And I get an email back on like some old Hotmail account. Apparently I own the site. I bought it sometime long in the past. And so we switched the name over to Kabuki Strength, and it's really easy to find. But it does tie to like what I talk about. Like, so a lot of our logo is this Japanese stylized angry face. It's this like face mask, and it's your squat face. It's a rendition actually of my face during a squat. And what we tell people is we supply the equipment, we supply the methodology, but at the end of the day, you're the one that's got to bring the mental side of the game. You got to put your squat face on. You got to put your game day face on. I can talk about it. I can write a book about it. I can do all this stuff, but nobody else can bring that to the table except for you. So we can bring those other pieces, but you've got to bring your Kabuki mask, your squat face. And so that's how it ties into the business.
See, dude, that's just like, I don't know if you did that intentionally, but like all that shit goes to marketing, goes to culture, goes to all the things that make kick-ass companies. Stories and reasons for things. That's culture.
It is.
You have a good culture at your organization?
Oh my God. The culture of like self-improvement, like just permeates the organization. Like, we've got people that come just to package boxes or be an entry-level machinist or something like that. And, somebody will come in and they'll be smoking cigarettes, and their coworkers will go up and say, "Hey, if you quit for 6 weeks, I'll pay you $100. And then next thing you know, they're getting invited, come over to the gym, train with me after work. We're on our lunch break. And it's just like, you go talk to anybody at any level that our company, and they'll be like, the best thing that ever happened to me in my life was getting this job. Like, I feel like it just permeates like the atmosphere. It's crazy. And our turnover rate is near zero. Like it sounds like it.
Plus people get to be around you.
There's a lot of cool people. So
yeah, but like, dude, the speed of the boss, speed of the troops. You ask me.
Yep.
That's why every time I start complaining around here, I got to go look in the mirror. I'm gonna be like, shit, I'm gonna complain, and I'm the leader. One time, some shit was going on, and I walked around here, and I was like, rah, 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 and I was all fucking pissed about something stupid. And I said to myself, dude, I wish I knew who ran this place. And I'm like, that's when I realized, like, dude, you can't complain about your business if you're the one running it.
Yeah. Well,
but it also shows like when you are the one running it and you're badass and you practice what you preach and you do what you say and you're freaking, dynamic, dude, the people follow you.
Here's the thing. Credibility. You can be the owner of a company and still not have people follow you. Yep. You can get up in front of people and drop the most amazing, motivational, inspirational speeches around, and people won't follow you. You have to walk the walk. You have to earn your credibility, and you have to continue to maintain it. It's so hard, but you've got to demonstrate with your actions, your words, and everything that you do. Love the sound effects.
This is the bomb. We're carpet bombing. Listen up, folks. That just tells the audience to listen up, because this is the real shit.
But that you want to talk culture, and like, you walk into businesses and they've got their mission and vision statement on the wall, and nobody lives it. Nobody even knows what it is. And it literally permeates our organization. I mean, that's why people there. We hire people not to have jobs, but do you want to be part of what we're doing? Because what we do is we help people get out of pain. We change their lives and allow them to live a better life through strength. And we want to change the entire face of fitness all the way through its integration with clinical care and make it better. And we've got a vision for doing that. And it's like, do you want to be part of this? Do you want to be part of this team? And it's like I said, so many businesses will say they've got this stuff, and they don't really have it. My business partner, co-founder of our business, I met him when he was 59, and he's like, I want to get stronger. He's 72 now. For his 72nd birthday, he deadlifted 520 pounds. He's the strongest septuagenarian, or whatever that is, in the world. So he benches around 300 pounds, squats close to 500 pounds, deadlifts in the 500s. Competing is a 198 pound tested athlete.
All using Kabuki Strength.
That's right.
Well, this is why almost everybody in the world that has any money or sense or focuses on true, body mechanics and movement and optimization, they're going to find the best. That's you.
Yeah. It's really interesting, because you'd start a business doing this stuff and you'd think you'd start on the ground and kind of build your way up. But we found that we started right at the top, and we're working down and trying to gain exposure in the masses, because all the people that truly look and research and know and understand, they immediately got our stuff. They found us, they follow us because of our content, and boom, we started right at the top tier. And now it's like, oh, now how do we get everybody else to kind of be aware of what we're doing?
Well, I could help you with that, but I mean, this podcast is going to help you with that. But realistically, man, because you have all those top athletes and celebrities, if you can get them at all to say anything, like send you a video, what's up, Chris? Kabuki this, Kabuki that, freaking you use that, dude, the whole world. It's weird how freaking celebrities
go on The Rock's Instagram. And
does he talk about it?
He doesn't talk about it.
So you get him to freaking say he uses Kabuki Strength. It's all over.
Anytime you ever see him squatting or doing a walking lunge or lunges or anything.
In his Iron Paradise?
In his Iron Paradise, that bar on his back with the handles on it, that's ours. He will not use any. He has them drop shipped to wherever he's going to shoot at or travel to.
Yeah.
They're
special.
His partner on, he's been doing a lot of marketing with Lindsey Vaughn. You watch her stuff. She's using the Kabuki Strength bar on
Is
all
it all
the same
squatting and load based?
It's all load based. So we have the best specialty squat bar in the world. So it's great for any sort of single leg work, all those sorts of things. We've got the best, what we call open trap bar. So, which is, again,
you talking about the ones that you step in, do this?
Yeah. Well, ours you can walk into, so you can do bent over rows in it. You can do seal rows. You can do overhead movements. You can do carries and lunges and basically nearly anything. It's got some really cool features. You actually if you just grab the handle and pull it up, the plates kick off the ground, so you can load and unload the plates with a built-in bar jack.
You sell plates?
We do. And
did you during Corona? Did it go hog freaking wild?
Well,
I was trying to buy equipment for my house. I couldn't find it. When I could, it was spendy.
We're still not caught up. We're trying to get caught up. And that's why we haven't really, you were saying, oh, you should get those people to market your stuff. I'm like, no, I can't right now.
Yeah,
not yet, but we're close. We're probably about 6 weeks out of being current right now. So,
well, dude, I'm sold. Hopefully now that I know you, I can get some strings pulled when I make my order.
Absolutely. So we got the best pressing bar in the world.
Do you customize them?
Not generally, no.
Dude, write down that idea. I'm telling you, dude.
Right.
Well, I mean, for the big dogs and shit,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So if you look at the Rocks bar, it says Iron Paradise on the cover, so
I'm telling you, dude, that's key.
And then
people with money, dude, they're already going to like it just because it's the best.
Yeah.
And you guys are the way you are. They're already going to get it clearly. But if like some stupid premium, some big shot can get it customized.
Yeah.
Where like, that bar, let's say it's black that looks like it has scales, and the only person that gets that's what's his name? Old Flex Lewis.
Yep. Yeah, when we do custom end caps on the end. And then we released this really cool product just a couple weeks ago. It doesn't use gravity, it uses inertia. It uses a flywheel to develop the resistance. So it's effort based, and you put it in. It's a really crazy tool. So it's amazing for speed and power development. So for real athletes, like people that are sprinters, runners, field athletes, and we've got some patented technology in it that makes it the highest quality in that market, while putting everything all into to one package. Usually people have to buy multiple equipment. Ours, you can just use one, and it's crazy. So it's got variable load, so you can do supersets, giant sets, mix exercises together. It's completely effort based. Whatever you put into it on the concentric phase, it throws right back at you your peak concentric force as your eccentric load, and it doesn't stop. So it's huge for power, speed development, as well as tendon strength and stiffness. So it's used really heavily in rehab and clinical for that as well, but pretty important stuff. So it's really, really cool stuff. Usually people are not familiar with inertia and flywheels and how they can be used for fitness. But we have a really amazing product that we just released in that manner.
Dude, is that like from the aerospace days?
It's
inertia.
They use it in some wild applications. Like even the F1 race cars, they have an inertia braking system in there. So they'll capture the braking power, and it'll deliver back another 160 horsepower for 6-second boost whenever they need it in the Formula One cars. Isn't that wild? And then you got like power plants in New York that save their energy during when excess, and then drop it back into the system based off of massive flywheels. So the amount of power that you can generate through them is crazy, and what you can do with them. And so we're taking that into fitness, and it's pretty damn awesome.
What about barbells?
So that's everything that we talked about so far is a specialty barbell, and we've got what we call the Cadillac bar, which is the best pressing bar. So we get the balance of internal and external rotation, and we get this, I call it playground physics. So you were talking about the trap bar. You ever pick one up and notice it wants to kind of dive forward on you and kind of move around in your hands? Or you ever use those neutral grip bench press bars, like a football bar, and they want to like move around in your wrist and break your face? No,
I'm not a big worker outer, as you can tell.
So, anyway, these things have been around since the 60s or 70s, and everybody just keeps copying each other and producing the same stuff, I'll have to say crap, right? And what happens is if a normal bar, the handle is parallel to what we call the center of rotation and the center of mass. So the center of mass is right in the dead center of the bar, and it rotates about that point as well. If you spin the plate, that's the center of rotation. And if you turn the handle, all of a sudden you have what's called you have a teeter-totter. You walk into a playground, and a teeter-totter sits on one side or the other. The balance point, there is one, but it's infinitely perfect, which means you can never actually find it. So you have this induced instability in any of the trap bars that are out there, or any of the neutral grip football bars, things like that. And so what we've done is offset the handle position so that the load sits below the handle. And what that is, it's really simple. It's playground physics. It's a swing. So center of mass is low, center of rotation is high. What happens when you walk into a playground? Swing's always sitting dead center. And so now all of a sudden we have a stable system at that distal end where your hand is, and it changes all the things along the way. Gets the joints, gets the neurology to fire differently. There's so many things that happen. All of a sudden, this is great. The Cadillac bar, this is a pressing bar, and I went into MLB spring training when I first demoed this bar like 3-4 years ago. And by the way, every head strength coach for an MLB team if you're listening, you know who I'm talking about. You got bad shoulders. All of them like, I can't bench. I've had surgery, caused pain. I can't even take an empty bar to my chest. And so over the course of a couple of days, I went to 5 different MLB teams because they're all in Phoenix during spring training. And I said, here, try this bar. And, their whole staff's around because they love our other bars. And they're checking out. I'm like, nah, can't do it. I can't bench. Got bad shoulders. And their staff's like, yep, he does. Can't take a bar to my chest without pain. I'm like, just try it. Ooh, that feels good. Put a plate on. Ooh, that feels good. Put another plate on. They all work up and do like 3, 4, 5 reps, every one of them. And by the way, our bar's curved to get that, that handle position and different. And so you're actually pressing further. You're actually pressing 3 inches deeper as a deficit. And these guys are benching their old reps with 0 pain. I mean, their staff is just sitting there, jaws hanging.
That's cool.
And it's just like, well, that's what happens. We get the internal and external rotation of the bias of the shoulder where it should be based on the width of the grip. So all the handle positions are different. We add some stability at the end, at the distal end, and we stack those joints. And all of a sudden, huge things happen. And now imagine the training effect. We've got a greater range of motion. We've taken out the negative stresses on the shoulder. And you're going to feel like the first time you walked in as a 16-year-old kid and did a bench press workout in the next few days, your chest and shoulders wouldn't move around because the DOMs had set in, because you just get such a great, amazing training effect from it. But straight bars, regular barbells, we do those as well. They're unique as well, of course.
Dude, I got to go check out the website after this. Kabuki Strength. That's crazy, dude. So what about mindset? Because you're big on freaking resilience and shit like that.
Yeah. So, yeah, everything we're talking about is really basic stuff, right? You go into the gym, you do some curls, and what happens? Your bicep gets stronger. And by stronger, it means it gets more resilient to be able to handle additional stresses and load in the future. And that's the effect that training has on the body. This is basic human physiology. If you break your arm and you put it in a cast, what happens? It starts to atrophy. The muscle starts to atrophy.
Oh, yeah,
the bone heals.
Oh, yeah. You get skinnier.
Yeah. And so this is why we have to have like stress, demand on our physical system because if we don't at some level, the body doesn't adapt and we actually start this process of atrophy. And
you look like those skinny fat people.
Yeah.
Even if you're skinny and you're skinny fat, doesn't look right. See, I just started working out 3 weeks ago. So you're going to come back 6 months from now and you're going to see old big dog looking good. Why? Because, dude, that exact reason.
Yep.
Like now, you got to freaking get up and move your body somehow. What do you think of sprints?
Well, let's get back to your question, though. You're talking about mindset.
Okay.
The exact same thing happens with mental and emotional resilience as well. If we don't have demands, if we don't challenge ourselves, we get weak.
Mentally.
We get weak mentally, right? So everybody's always in this, like trying to find comfort. I want to be successful and get $1 million so I can retire on a beach and, in Cancun. We're always trying to find this, like, how can I find, an environment that doesn't have, stress. It doesn't have those type of things that are going to be mentally or emotionally demanding, right? And if we ever find that, we start dying, honestly. It's the same exact principles come into place. You've got to just reading and challenging yourself mentally. You're going to, it keeps the mind active. It keeps it, and we quit doing those sorts of things. And it happens everywhere else in life. So we can't just take on massive amounts of stress. We have to build just like at the gym. So you've got to, if there's challenge, there's strife, there's things in your life that are kind of churning and spinning your gut a little bit. And you're going, God, I really want to avoid that hard conversation. I don't know if I'm ready to walk away from this job or go back to school or talk to the boss or take on that huge project that they want me to take on. That sounds kind of scary. That's your signal to go, that's my training opportunity. That is my opportunity to build resilience. What I need to do is actually turn into it. And I'm not saying every one of those is going to end up successful, but what is going to be the output of that is you're now going to adapt and be able to handle more. You're going to be able to take that next step. You weren't able to just walk out and start, light speed VT think through your, the career and growth of you, and where you were at 16 and 20 and 25, and the ability to handle the stresses and the challenges that come with those things, that you continually are adapting and adding more challenge, more resilience. And when you get to that point where life is easy, we've found comfort and we're just kicked back, you need to find what scares you.
You're dying.
And to articulate that point, it's not just human physiology. If you plant a tree in the biodome, what happens is that tree is going to grow to a certain height, doesn't matter what kind it is, and it's going to fall over. And the reason for that is it doesn't have the environment. It doesn't have the wind smashing against it, telling it, grow the root structure strong and wide and deep. Make good, stiff bark to withstand. And all of a sudden, the tree kills itself because it doesn't build that. It doesn't build the resilience. It doesn't know that it needs these things. And it becomes weak. It outgrows itself and kills itself. This is nature as a whole. This isn't just human physiology, right? So trying to find that environment that is that perfect, easy environment is not what you need. But at the same time, I'm not saying burn the candle at both ends, because if you sit there and, Brad, you start up and you go, well, I need to get in shape. I'm going to do daily doubles, 3 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're going to have too much stress. You're going to get beat up, and you're going to have too much stress that you're not going to be able to adapt to in time. And you're going to go on a downward climb. So it's all about always having it, but then having a little space in time as a breather, but not too long. If I train heavy for a month and then take the next year off, what happens? I didn't get any value. Heck, if I train really heavy once a month, am I going to move forward? Probably not, right? Because all you did was beat yourself up. And then when it was time to take that next stair step to level it up to the next level, you'd already fallen back down. And now all you're doing is take another step and then back down. And you're sitting at this baseline. You're never moving anywhere. And so this is an important thing to understand. And this is what I try to articulate in my life story is, there may be bad shit that's happened to you, traumatic shit, in my experience. And I don't want to negate that and say that it's not, important, but you don't have control of those things. What you have control over is your actions and responses to that. And
that's right.
So you have control of the actions and responses, but you also have the opportunity of, I can't change this negative thing, this experience, whatever it was, but can I use this to become a stronger and more resilient person so that I can handle that in the future and maybe something more? You want to know how to, this is the real nugget of how to grow and be a successful leader and business entrepreneur like yourself or anyone else. People like yourself and anybody that's been in those big roles, whoever it is that you look to, your sports star, your business person, whoever it is, they do this naturally. They chase challenge. They chase those things that scare them, and they have a practice of moving into it and moving towards it.
I agree. I always tell people, seek problems. Most people avoid problems, and problems is how I kind of discovered Lightspeed, first of all, but the opportunities in the problems. But most people avoid problems. They don't want problems. They're not looking for problems.
No, it's
but if you do look, dude, which is exactly what you just said, and you get good at solving problems, that's that build you're talking about.
Yeah. And there's so many that you'll find that you turn away from. Like I said, it could just be a conversation with your partner, your boss that you're avoiding. Like I said, I call it the gut check. Whenever you feel that mixture of twist and anxiety in your gut, plus a little mixture of maybe excitement, like, man, it'd be good to resolve this. And your reaction is that's trying to make you avoid it. And that is your signal to go, that's my opportunity. That's my opportunity for growth. I need to move towards that. This is why
you're going to get everybody inspired and shit to go face people and confront their freaking shit.
Well,
there's going to be fights when this episode drops, because someone's going to be like, man, I'm tired of that motherfucker talking to me like that.
But
every time I'm about to say something, I get butterflies. Chris just said face it.
You'll find it ends up being really productive conversation though, and moves you and whoever the other person is forward if you handle it. Like,
well, then based on that, dude, I need to go get in the octagon.
All right.
Because like that's when my stomach feels like, oh shit, when I'm about to get in a fucking fight.
So make sure you're prepping yourself for this, right?
Well, sure.
So for you,
well, prep's key, right?
Give us a call, and we'll get you prepared for that. So we definitely deal with the fighting clients as well.
Yeah, but that's a good another point you just made. Like, if I'm supposed to turn into it, don't turn in just because he said turn into it doesn't mean you turn into it unprepared. You turn into it blind. You know you're supposed to head somewhere. Get prepared to go where that is. You'll be better prepared.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And fighting, I'm telling you, like, you know, every time I even watch MMA and I get all, or any fight really, it's just, that's the butterfly feeling you were talking about.
Yeah. It's telling you that direction. And yeah, so it doesn't mean blindly go into it, right?
But like jumping out of an airplane, dude, that gives me that feeling. So am I supposed to go do that? That's when I'll grow?
Possibly.
Yeah, but fuck that. You jumped out of a plane?
I haven't.
Fuck that.
It doesn't interest me.
Me either. Not one iota. Even if you challenge me, someone says, "Oh, dude, come on, face your fears." Fuck that. I ain't jumping out of the plane. Dude, when you were growing up and you were running around the woods and everything, we're like, there are other people, you know, like you say, you know, oh, a mile down the, you know, path there, you know, oh, Bobby and Ellen are sleeping in their tents. Did you guys have people to talk to or no?
Yeah. Yeah. So again, like during the summers, we would be out in the woods, and during the winters, we'd usually get a place closer to town so the kids could go to school, and it depended on what that was. But yeah, sometimes in the woods, there's other people just like living in the woods.
If shit hit the fan right now and you had to go live in the woods, it wouldn't even faze you.
It wouldn't. But man, I look at going, you know, what if everything I do, you know, I end up being a failure, and I end up having, like, I know I'd be successful, but damn, I sure wouldn't want to have my kids. Like, again, I don't regret anything about my upbringing, my life, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. But when I sit there and look at my 3 kids and I go, think about them living in that environment, man, it just brings like sadness to me, like tears, and just like, that's what really got me motivated to sit down and write my book. Cause it was hard. I mean, it's not really easy putting some of that stuff out there to the world in such an open fashion, but the pieces of the story I shared really did help a lot of people. And, it's been an interesting process.
What about the gym business? Like, are you in gyms all across the country or no?
We are. So we don't deal with really a lot of the big commercial accounts at this point, like, you know, a 24-hour fitness or Gold's Gym and things like that. But we're in a lot of training facilities, private training facilities, people that, again, you think about well-educated coaches. If they've got their own place or they're working someplace, they usually end up finding us. So we're spread all over. So dude, a huge piece of our, you know, it's nice to name off the teams and all the other, you know, the players and all that, but most of our products are going to an independent gym or a home gym or you know, a coach or trainer somewhere that's got you know, maybe it's a you know, a small area in an industrial complex or a garage they're working out of training clients, and those are the people that are using our stuff. Yeah,
but when like people hear this, I would imagine there's a lot of successful people that are going to be hitting you up, getting some shit for their house. But I'm trying to think of because with you telling the story, dude, I see like Kabuki gyms everywhere being like freaking bigger than any of them. Why? Well, because dude, that's a Kabuki Strength.
Yeah, and that's. I am trying to slowly, so I'm working through, and we have everything like in our design queue. It's about another 3 years worth of work of completely reinventing that gym experience. So it's creating all these products that really fit the principles, the scientific principles of how we move and load, and they accommodate for the individuality of a person, the different lever links, the different mobility restrictions, and they can rapidly change from one to another. And so the equipment, like people come to me with great ideas going, hey, can you make this and sell it? You do innovative stuff. And I'm like, that's a fantastic idea. You should sell it. And they're like, well, can you help me? Will you sell it? And I'm like, no. They're like, well, you said it's a great idea. I'm like, it is, but it doesn't fit what I'm trying to do. And so I'm trying to create this comprehensive gym experience, this everything working together and fitting with how we should actually coach and how we would rehab people and work in clinical care as it goes to trying to get them back to loaded movement as a whole. And so we're slowly working through that. And yeah, when we're done, there's going to be enough to complete a full gym based on that experience. And yes, I would love to see Kabuki gyms all around the globe.
Yeah, well, call me when you're ready to go, because I'd want to be an investor.
All right.
Because just the story alone, but I imagine, you walk in, the equipment all looks kick-ass, and then it's going to work better than any gym in the country. And pretty soon, everyone's just going to be walking around feeling good, looking good, and Kabuki is a cool freaking name. So that's a cool brand, Kabuki.
It's funny. You just brought up something, because some of the high-end gyms, and actually some of the commercial facilities, so we don't have the big accounts, but the individual gyms will buy our stuff. And the reason they do is training retention. So they have our equipment, but they only have it available to the people that are working with their with their trainers. Because once you start using the equipment, you do not want to go back and use other stuff, because you're like, wow, that hurts in a bad way. I didn't realize that it was not like everybody's being forced and shoved through this, the triangles being shoved through round holes and things like that, right? Basic stuff we learned in preschool. We shove everybody through this instead of accommodating for the difference, and people start using it. And so what we find, and we've got a lot of case studies on this, and that's what we present, is the retention goes through the roof, because people are like, I don't want to go somewhere else. Like, I don't want to go join another gym
unless they have Kabuki Strength.
Unless they have Kabuki Strength equipment. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Dude, I see it going worldwide. How long you been in biz?
5 years. Well,
that's it?
Yeah. 6 years, I guess now. It's 20. Yeah. I started the company February of 2015, and I went to work full time in April of 2015.
Dude, if you go public, let me know.
Okay.
I'm telling you guys better go check it out. Kabuki Strength sounds like high-end obsessive equipment that will outperform anything you're doing. What's the difference between, like, if I use those other ones, other than discomfort? Can I build better traps quicker or anything?
Well, anytime that we're able to get in better position, we're going to have, let's use, you like cars?
Yeah.
Car guy. So let's take a fast car. You get one off the lot, and let's compare it to the Formula One car that we were talking about with the flywheel, right? So in your off the lot car, a lot of times there's this little button, and it's a traction control button. And a lot of people think when the traction control's on, which you probably don't have to deal with here in Vegas, but with not much snow and other stuff, but that it takes the power, like when you're going around a corner and it's slippery out, it's going to take the power from the wheel that's slipping and put it to the one that's gripping. And that's not how it works. Actually, what it does is it reduces the power output of the vehicle. It detunes the engine, right? It detunes the transmission shift patterns. And if it has an impact on the suspension, on the higher end ones, it will make changes as well to make it, again, this car weaker. It detunes it. And our body does the same thing. So if we don't have the joints in the right position, the right length tension relationship of the muscles on each side of the joint, if we don't have that stack, if we don't have great position with the rib cage as it relates to the diaphragm in opposition to the pelvis and a bunch of other stuff, and get into the technical details, what happens is the body senses that you're in poor position and detunes us. So that's the neurological pattern. So you're actually training with less load than you could be. So you're not getting as much effect. So when we start fixing these issues and getting you, moving properly with the right systems engaged, all of a sudden with the same effort, you're moving more weight, you're doing more reps. And in fact, now, because of it being in the right position, you're able to tolerate more frequency as well, because my back's not hurting like it used to. And instead of, the amount of volume that you can do in the workout and the frequency of the workouts can get closer. And as you do all that, absolutely, you're going to have a tremendously more effective response to your training. So yeah, you're going to get bigger traps. You're going to get bigger delts. You're going to get bigger everything. You're going to become more athletic.
You got a dick bar?
I don't have one of those.
Dude, listen, that'd make you the billionaire right there.
But it would. But that's a huge thing to understand, is the neurological response to being in the right positions and having things engaged in the right manner, having stabilizers work as stabilizers and not prime movers, and having the prime movers do the work that they need to. This stuff has a huge impact to the neurological output of the body and then what you're able to accomplish.
Do you have a podcast at all?
I had one called Strength Chat. It was covered like a lot of the science and other stuff with that, but I'm restarting my next one later this summer, which actually I'd love to have you up and have you on as a guest once I get moving again.
Sure, anytime. But you should have a podcast where you're just talking about everything, because dude, it ain't just biomechanics and shit like that. You're talking about mindset, resilience. Like, you should be out in that entrepreneur space. You do keynotes or any of that?
No, I don't do keynotes.
See, you should be.
Yeah.
Like, someone asked me one time, hey, how much you charge for a keynote? I said, $25,000. They said, where do I send the money? We need you to come over here and talk to our team. Boom, $25,000, $25,000, $25,000. I had 9 of them already this year. People want me to speak. I just made up $25,000. Now, $25,000 could be considered chump change to some, but if you tell your story to a lot more people, dude, I'm telling you, you're going to inspire a lot of new entrepreneurs, a lot of new innovation, and a lot of new passion, because you're a passionate dude.
Well, I'm working. I am a passionate dude about everything in my life. That is definitely for real.
But that's what I think, that's the fuel of success, passion.
It is.
It's not necessarily going to get you there, but it if you do the rest of that shit, prepare, pay attention to the data, like do your research, do the work, you're going to get there with passion 9 times out of 10.
Well, and this really, you're talking about, I'm working on another book right now that is specifically down those lines. So it's called Create Shit, Do Shit, Live Beyond the Extremes. So it's
when's that come
The
out?
Unconventional Executive's Guide to Leadership in Life. It's going to be out through a major publisher early next year. So it's a ways out, but it's covering these principles. It's covering goal setting, leadership, and execution. I see so many pieces out there that focus on one or the other. Like, here's how to set goals, but at the end of the day, you've got to be a great leader. You got to do the things that we were just talking about. Like, credibility is one small, 1/6 of the puzzle amongst all the other things. And then you've also got to have the systems to be able to execute shit, actually get shit done and manage the process. And so it's a trifecta. And so I'm working on that as a business and self-improvement book that's going to be out. So pretty excited on that piece.
Dude, I'm going to go follow you. I'm surprised I haven't heard of you, dude. You're pretty freaking big deal here. I was like Chris Duffin, Kabuki Strength. This morning I was going to go do something and I was almost going to say, hey, reschedule with Chris. And I'm glad I didn't, number one. Number two, like, shit, dude, people can find you at mad_scientist_Duffin, Duffin. Other platforms, Christopher Duffin. Everyone's going to go get your book, I'm sure. Can I get it in Audible?
You can. I actually do the reading.
You read it?
I
okay,
do.
Good.
My publisher told me not to. They're like, it's going to be hard. And I'm like,
why?
I'm like, this is a personal story. How can anybody else read this? I'm going to do it. And then I got done and they're like, okay, yeah, that was pretty good. I'm like, thanks.
Dude, I'm going to come out with a book here. Mine's called The Hard Way. Shit I learned the hard way so you don't have to.
That's a good one, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be reading it only because who else would?
Yeah.
And how are they going to put the same inflection where it goes?
Exactly.
Like, they don't know the story. Yeah. They're just going to read the story. Yeah. Unless I got someone like Morgan Freeman.
So that would be a good one. But still, that stuff's, I'm just a big believer in, like, it just seems off when it's not the author that's not reading it. And
well, what's crazy is, again, I start out my story at 6 years old, basically first grade selling candy bars, ended up selling more than anybody in the history of the world just because I made up a pitch. But I used to live in Cottage Grove, Oregon. You know where that is?
Yeah.
So we were up on a hill, which behind that was just all mountains. So we, as kids, man, we would disappear into the mountains where, like, you lived. The only difference is we had to get our asses back home and out of the mountains. But dude, up in the mountains, I grew up out there. It was like freaking awesome. Like streams and rivers and fishing and hunting and like freaking, most people might think, oh, poor guy was out there. I know I can see that, dude. I almost am envious of you. Like that's freaking badass. I didn't get to stay there. I was always up there for a half day and then back down.
Right.
But dude, I'm telling you that I believe in my childhood, a lot of that, I wish I could provide my kids. You can't do that here in Las Vegas.
No. Yeah. It'd be a little tough.
Yeah. So why are you in Portland though? Is that where you like opened the first building, or why Portland?
Yeah, pretty much. I moved to Portland in 2000 to work on my master's and pursue my career.
So that's what did it.
In Oregon, all the businesses are in Portland.
Yeah.
And so then I've been there and I opened the gym there.
I like Portland.
And so, yeah, it's just gotten weird the last few years.
Well,
not a good weird, cancerous weird, but
I left in 91, Portland. That's where I went. I went from Portland. No, I left in 90. I went from Portland to Seattle to Vegas. But Portland was cool as shit when I was there.
It's still, like I said, outside of the stuff that's gone on, it's still there's so much good stuff there. And the rest of the state is so different. So we're literally 20 minutes just from downtown, and it's a completely different world.
Well, why do why does Portland allow such nonsense going on?
I have no idea, man. It is the weirdest thing.
Is it like the leadership there?
Oh yeah. Well, it's the leadership, and then based on also the population that's there. Just it baffles me, and I can't understand it. So
you plan on getting out ever?
Yeah.
Where are you heading?
Texas, Nevada, or Idaho? Not sure yet.
I was making sure you say California.
No.
Like Oregon's better than California.
Yeah. So,
folks, go follow this dude. I want to keep talking to you about a bunch of shit. I bet you got tons of stories.
Oh, I got a few.
I don't even know where to go, because the listeners value, they want to take your stories, apply it to what they think they're going through, and then what was your solution? How'd you figure that out? How'd you get out of that?
Well, that's so my book was actually, it's a great entertaining read, but it's written for the reader. So every chapter is focused on, I can't tell you how to live, but I can help you guide on the process of introspection, to diving deeper, to understanding your own values, and then, helping you turn those values into goals so that you can create a life that's going to realize those values. Right. And so it is really a guide. So it's a bestseller in philosophy, self-improvement, as well, because of that. And there's actually a lot of stuff left out that was just like, random horrific things I could tell you about. It's not meant to be this book of like, oh, woe is me, and this is what I went through. It's like, how can I share stories that are going to help you look at your life and look at yourself in a manner? And so every chapter has, a lesson behind it and what I learned. But at the same time, I don't tell you how to live. It's really guiding you on that process yourself. And you mentioned, Audible. So if you just go to chrisduffin.com or christopherduffin.com, that's Duffin like muffin, but with a D. There's links to the book, as well as there's links to the Audible. And if you don't have an Audible account and you sign up through there, you get my book and another book for free through signing up. So it's a pretty good deal. That's why I put it on there. And then there's links to all my businesses as well on there. So
christopherduffin.com
or chrisduffin.com
or Chris Duffin. Either one, pick it up, folks. Follow this dude at mad_scientist_Duffin. Dude, I appreciate you coming out. I'm going to go definitely pick up some Kabuki Strength gear. Shit, I might do it while you're here so you can tell me what I need.
All right.
And anytime you're in Vegas, dude, stop back. I'm sure everyone will always want to hear more stories.
Yeah, that sounds good, my man.
Folks, share this out. We're getting up there in the ranks. I want to just try to get to top 10 in the whole world. And that only happens by you rating, comment, and sharing, man. Post it on social media, screenshot shit. Boost us up a little bit, folks, or shit, I might stop doing these. And I know you don't want that. Until next time, keep it real.
Dropping bombs with the real Bradley. Subscribe now.